The host at our Airbnb has the most talkative cat. That is the host. People who don't get cats will try to argue that cats don't love you. Meanwhile, cats will cry and cry and cry like the world is ending until you hold them like a baby and give them a little kissy on their perfect little forehead. My two favorite things. 1. Cats with everyday objects as names. Aw, pants broke into the catnip again. Number 2. Cats with unexpectedly normal names. How did Kenneth get on top of the fridge? I don't know what little cat needs to hear this, but it is not dinner time. You are not gonna starve and it will be okay. In conversation about white people who go to Japan and expect their knowledge of anime to culturally carry them, I was posed with, it's like if there was a Japanese guy who was obsessed with SpongeBob and came over here and thought he could just get by and only communicated in SpongeBob quotes. This is a false equivalence because if that man existed, we would crown him king. We'd love him. Americans would love that. Sometimes I get sad that this isn't a real guy that I can invite to a party. Being moderately proficient with computers in the early 2010s was casting a hex on your family to call you Sheldon. I got a Big Bang Theory box set and a Bazinga t-shirt for Christmas when I was 16. My dad wanted me to get a psych evaluation so I could say, I'm not crazy. My father had me tested, like Sheldon did, but after the psych evaluation, they diagnosed me with paranoid schizophrenia. This could be the funniest thing that's ever happened to anybody ever. My condolences, King. When I was little, my mum told me that throwing your chewing gum out the car window was the good and moral thing to do because it patched up people's flat tires. And to this day, I think it's one of the funniest lies anybody's ever told a child for no reason. So this comment section on a TikTok about insane things that people ask at aquariums is a goldmine. My friend used to volunteer at a zoo and was asked by a grown adult, at how deep do dolphins become sharks? It haunts me to this day. When I was working at the aquarium, we had a lady ask if she could be baptized in the otter exhibit. I read this comic for the first time at like 8 years old and it holds up as the funniest thing I've ever seen. Every text post I've ever made doesn't hold up to this. This coffee-loving kitten has done it again. I'm broke. These two panels have destroyed my soul. My first joke I ever made was a comic where two people are staring at a dress in the window of a store. One of them says, I would die for that dress, and the other says, I would kill for that dress, and then they look at each other awkwardly. This was when I was like 6, and every single day I wake up knowing that I'll never be able to top this, my magnum opus. How can people say that cats don't have feelings? When my cat got deadly sick, she refused to eat a single thing, and it had been days, and when I started crying, she started to eat just a little bit, and upon seeing how happy it made me, kept doing it whenever she could. Now whenever I'm sad or crying, she finds wherever I am, with a mouthful of food and eats the pieces one by one. Every time looking up at me, making sure that I was watching her eat it because she knew that it made me so happy. And it does make me happy. I love cats. Sobbing. Dear anybody who hates cats, my cat literally sleeps next to my face until she thinks I'm asleep, and then she'll move to the end of my bed. If I wake up at night, she'll go back up to my head and stay with me until I fall asleep again. In the morning, she'll follow me when I call her. She's a precious nugget. I don't know, it's still a bad musical. My cat sleeps in this box and I was seeing how far I could push it to the edge before he jumped out. Your cat ain't having none of this physics BS. If cats aren't meant to be kissed on their heads, then what's that little space between their ears for? Certainly not their brain. Alien. What are you doing? Human. Petting a cat. She's sweet and sleepy, so I'm petting her. Alien. But why is this carnivore inside your home? Is it competing for territory? Human. Lots of people have cats, they're pets, but I mean, I've kind of accepted that she basically owns the place by now. Alien. Does she serve any function for housekeeping? She seems too small to guard your home. Human. Nah, she just naps all day. She has been known to shred the furniture though. Alien. She provides no service and destroys your property, and yet you allow her in your home anyway. Why would you? Cat starts purring and needing paws. Alien. Soft gasp. My coworker just told me about a kid that he knew in second grade that was really allergic to peanuts, but one day during lunch he said that he couldn't take it anymore, and he wanted to know what Reese's tasted like, so he pulled out his EpiPen, ate the Reese's cup, and then stabbed himself with the EpiPen and told the teacher to call the hospital. And that kid is the most hardcore kid I've ever heard of. I want to be his friend. My grandpa has a date tonight, and he's really old and in a wheelchair, and has to drag around this breathing machine, but he's just sitting there waiting for the hospice shuttle to take him to pick up his date, and he looks so excited. It's the cutest thing I've ever seen. Update, he came home and I asked him how it went, and he said, I should have brought an extra tank of oxygen because she took my breath away. When I first saw him, I thought he was pondering at his reflection in the water, but then I realized he's only begging for this drown to come to the surface so that he can chuck him across the river like the sack of wet meat that he is. That caption got better and better with every word. Plankton built his computer wife, so he's also the one who programmed her personality. Plankton made a wife who would belittle and mock him. Plankton has a humiliation fetish. Sometimes we have thoughts and we don't have to share them with everybody and just put them out into the world. Just a suggestion. About 2 weeks ago, I was working on a history paper and it was around 2 a.m. and I was hungry, so I went to the pantry to get some food and I found a bag of tortilla chips, but they were really big chips, so I broke one in half, and for some reason, I thought the noise was hilarious, so I kept breaking them in half. And that's the story of how my parents found me on the floor of the pantry crying hysterically surrounded by tortilla chips at 2 a.m. exam, finals. Funny story, in my junior year of high school, this guy asked me on a date. He rented a Redbox movie and made a pizza. We were watching the movie and the oven beeped so the pizza was done. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "This is the worst part." I then watched this boy open the oven and pull the pizza out with his bare hands, rack and all, screaming at the top of his lungs. Yeah, we never had a second date. That's so wild. My nephew likes to play McDonald's, which is what you'd expect it to be. He says, "Welcome to McDonald's, how may I help you?" After you order, he says, "Okay, coming right up," and then pretends to give you your food. He has another game called Seal in McDonald's, which is the same thing except no matter what you order, he says, "Here's your cold hamburger." I know I'm biased, but he's a comedic genius as far as I'm concerned. My mum was telling me that when I was little there was a grasshopper on the car, but I didn't know what grasshoppers were called, so I pointed at it and said, "Look at that handsome man." Part 2, I saw a salamander, which I was terrified of for some reason, and I had a nightmare, so I woke my mum up in the middle of the night saying, "The salad man is coming." I'm playing Oblivion and I stole a wheel of cheese from a store, and then like 2 hours later I'm in an Oblivion gate drowning in lava, and a guard swims up to me and is like, "Stop right there." My bounty is 5 gold and this dude is on fire trying to arrest a cheese thief. Employee of the month. Every post on Reddit is like, "My wife left me so I spent $100,000 on a new man cave," and there's always a stormtrooper of some kind in the room. I've seen this happen so often on Reddit that now I associate stormtroopers and the entire Star Wars universe with divorce. May divorce be with you. Me as a farmer runs myself over with a tractor. You do not understand. My uncle is a farmer and one day he was going out to check his crops. He notices a tractor just going around in circles, thinks, "That's weird, I better go check it out." His neighbor fell off his tractor and got ran over, but he was on a slope, so the tractor went around and around in circles, running him over each time, and he was pressed into the ground like a cartoon. How long had he been there? Maybe an hour? He was alive and fine, just pressed into the dirt like Wile E. Coyote, and was so stuck in there that he couldn't even move, so he just kept getting run over until my uncle found him. In 2008, I used to be in love with Shia LaBeouf, and I made a MySpace pretending to be him, and I had over 10,000 friends, and I got over 1,000 messages a day, and people actually believed I was Shia LaBeouf, and I actually got verified as him for some reason, so I was the official Shia LaBeouf MySpace, but I was in fact a 12-year-old Canadian kid. I just burnt my hand on my lamp trying to turn it off. Lamp should not be hot enough to give you a 3rd-degree burn. This is BS. Maybe if you'd go outside and use natural sunlight instead of running your lamp for 13 hours straight, this wouldn't happen. Oh, I'm sorry, it's 3:38 a.m. Let me just wake up the sun so I can go sit outside with my skinless burnt hand and bask in the glory of natural daylight. I'm seriously considering filling my pockets with glitter, and whenever somebody near me says something really stupid or rude, I'll just reach into my pocket with a dead expression and release the glitter into the sky above their head and watch it shower over them like a baptism of stupid. At my funeral, everybody's sitting in their seats when all of a sudden, I Like to Move It by King Julian blasts through the speakers, and all of a sudden my lifeless corpse is dropped down by strings like a puppet and it just starts dancing. Everyone in these notes saying the song's not by King Julian can die with me too. Do you ever feel so awkward when you buy something and you pay in cash and the cashier gives you the change back, but you take a few seconds to put the money in your wallet and you can feel the world judging you from afar? I'm glad it isn't just me. I'm a cashier, and let me tell you that nobody cares and nobody is judging you. I love you. Can you be my cashier forever? So here's a story. A couple of years ago one night, I was about to propose to my girlfriend when my roommate Joseph barged into the room out of nowhere, tripped and fell over, breaking a glass table with his face, totally ruined the mood. Now, I didn't know Joseph that well, don't even remember where he was from, but let's say I put my plans on hold to help him with his injuries. Joseph had gotten a big glass shard in his eye, making him completely blind in that eye. He was walking around with one of those cotton pads on his eye for a couple of months. Then suddenly he disappeared, along with my girlfriend. Apparently they'd bonded during the time after his injuries and eloped together, leaving me behind without as much as a note. I tried to track them down, but I never could. In conclusion, if it hadn't have been for Cotton Eye Joe, I would have been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? How dare you make me read that with my own 2 eyes? The ultimate power move in a vampire and fairy rivalry would be the fairy inviting the vampire over for tea. The vampire has natural dominion over anybody who invites them into their home. The fairy has natural dominion over anybody who violates the laws of hospitality, and neither can refuse the appointment without showing weakness, so it'd just be a constant head game of the vampire trying to maneuver the fairy into a position where the obligations of hospitality allow the vampire to eat them, and the fairy trying to trick the vampire into doing something that would allow the fairy to declare them as a poor guest. I did not expect to read that today. Oh, to be a bored prince who keeps rejecting marriage proposals due to being secretly in love with the cute gardener boy. Oh, to be a cute gardener boy who secretly places roses in the prince's room because he's in love with him. Oh, to be the palace guard who discreetly helps to boost the cute gardener boy up the wall for his secret deliveries in the middle of the night. Oh, to be the prince's best friend witnessing the 2 fools dance around each other while knowing damn well that the 2 like each other. Oh, to be the noble suitor from another royal family who comes to know of their love instantly and plans an entire plan to get them their their happy ending. Oh, to be a medieval peasant who knows nothing about the prince's personal life and who dies of dysentery at age 23. Today I messed up by buying a bottle of wine at the movies. I went to a fancy movie theater with a date. I decided to buy a bottle of wine, go back to the bar, ask for 2 glasses. Bartender says he needs 2 IDs. I'm too lazy to go back to the seat to grab date's ID. I tell him I'm alone and I was embarrassed to ask for just 1 glass. He's clearly sympathetic. Idiot me then tries to sell the story and I continue on about how lonely I've been recently. He tells me he's off in a few minutes and insists on watching the movie with me. I try to fight it, but I could only argue so much without giving away the truth. Bartender is insistent. I text my date what's happening, go back to the theater with my new date, sit a few rows in front of my first date. She has the stupidest grin as me and the bartender, Jared, sit a couple of rows in front of her. He ends up being super cool and bought me and him another bottle during the movie. Movie ends. I thank him for his gesture. He didn't even ask me for my number or anything. I think Jared was a genuine guy trying to comfort somebody. I met back up with my date in the parking lot and thankfully she found the whole thing hilarious. I don't deserve Jared. In the 7th grade I met a guy and I forgot exactly how, but I came to the conclusion that his name was Steve. So every single time I saw him I called him Steve and he responded to it, so this just reinforced the idea that he was Steve. Then on the last day of school I went to say goodbye to him because his family was moving out of state. I said something like, "Bye Steve," and he responded, "Bye, my name's Michael," and I never saw him again. Not to be that person, but I feel like sometimes Shrek being so memeable prevents people from seeing how truly revolutionary and radical the first 2 films really were. A children's fairy tale that argues that no, ugliness does not mean bad and beautiful does not mean good. A fairy tale that argues that everybody is deserving of love, even those cast out of the margins of society. A fairy tale that dares to have a female protagonist not be conventionally attractive or helpless. A fairy tale that argues that love does not happen at first sight, but is grown in mutual respect and interest. That's pretty sick. I always thought it was funny how in Lord of the Rings, Sam and Frodo head out, and after a while Sam's like, "Mr. Frodo, if I take one more step, this is the furthest from the Shire I've ever been." And then a ways after they meet up with Merry and Pippin on their daily vegetable run. Like, Jesus Christ, Sam, get out of the house once in a while. Okay, to be fair, Sam is a working class dude with a physical job who lives on the west side of the Shire, while Merry and Pippin are spoiled rich kids with loads of leisure time who live a decent way further east. So cut the guy a break. He carries the 1 ring to Mount Doom when Frodo can't and does not deserve this kind of talk. I'm here for this Tolkien call-out culture. Yo, oh my god, I was walking on the beach at night and I couldn't see a thing and I tripped over 2 girls lying in the sand together, and after apologizing this happened. Me, "I'm sorry I interrupted your date." Girl 1, "Oh, this isn't a date, we're just friends, but thank you for not assuming though because we're actually both gay." Me turning to girl number 2, "What's your name?" Girl 2, "Heather." Me, "Heather sweetie, I'm so sorry that this dumbass is too dumb to realize that she's on a date with you." Girl 1, What do you mean? What does he mean? Is this a date?" Heather, "I mean, yeah, I kinda hoped it was." Davy Jones is one of my favorite movie villains because he's so extra. He introduces himself by saying, "Do you fear death?" And he plays the spooky pipe organ with his tentacle beard while pining over lost love. He knows his aesthetic and he owns it. I forgot about Pirates of the Caribbean and I spent a solid minute trying to figure out when the ghost man asked SpongeBob if he fears death. Imagine having braces during the apocalypse. Nobody can ever take your braces off and you have to accept that you'll have braces forever. I want a novel focused around a character with braces during the apocalypse, and the entire plot of the story is about them searching for an orthodontist who's still alive, and they sort of accidentally saved the world in the process. My mum ordered 2 different pizzas from 2 different places because she had coupons, and they both got here at the same time, so we had a Pizza Hut delivery guy and a Domino's delivery guy, both standing by our front door, and the Domino's guy looks at the Pizza Hut guy and proceeds to sing "Why Can't We Be Friends?" while the Pizza Hut guy glares at him. That's so cute. It's officially impossible for me to fall in love because last night at a party, drunk me remembered that sober me had thrown 3 fun-sized Kit Kats into my bag with the explicit thought that drunk me is going to be so excited when she finds these, and I don't think any other person is going to be able to love me like that. But what did drunk you ever do for sober you? Well, one time I blacked out and I woke up to find 13 full-size rolls of Ritz crackers in my bag because drunk me is also an ideal provider. Bath bomb was dropped off at my apartment, very abused and scared. He hid in the bathtub for an entire 24 hours. He barely, if ever, ate for about a week and didn't begin exploring the apartment until 3 weeks in. It was a month before he came up to me and it was hard, but I sat kinda near him. Every day I would treat him like he was a new cat and I'd let him smell me before trying to pet him. And if he even looked uncomfortable, I'd gently stop and I'd just sing or talk to him. Now he climbs on my back and jumps on my shoulder if I don't pay attention to him. So it takes work and time. Cats are like people and they have triggers and quirks and trauma, and we have to be respectful and gentle. It's not that hard of a concept. This is an important post, but my favorite part is that your cat's name is Bath Bomb. He hid in the bathtub for a full day. Of course he's called Bath Bomb. I'm screaming, so my cat knows I get upset when he steps on my paintings. Not yelling or anything. I think he just sees me spend hours trying to cover up what his paws do. In my studio, which is a crammed small storage closet with painting all over the floor. So like I'm in there right now and I saw him trying to get from point A to point B, but it was impossible for him to jump over, so he realized that the matte parts were dry, and he was stepping on the corners of the painting, and every single step he'd look at his paw to see if he messed it up. And honestly, it was the most thoughtful thing ever. I don't ever want to hear anybody ever say that cats don't care. Owning a cat makes you immune to demons. Evil spirits in my house. Creak my door open ominously. Me. Is that you, baby? Kissing noises. Come here, sweet baby. Me. Feels another present somewhere in the kitchen with me while I'm fetching a glass of water at 3 a.m. Me. Sleepy and unafraid. I'm not letting you out yet, you bastard. Go back to bed. The yellow-eyed demon that stalks me in the dark. Whispering. Damn it. Reblog if you don't poop on your friend's shoulder. I'm trying to prove a point to my birds. I see no difference. His name is Marshmallow and he's both long and fat. Somebody fed him a pickle. That guy with the ponytail's about to get wrecked. Squared the hell up. I saw a kitty squishing flowers in the yard and she looked at me like she had arcane secrets. Here's my artistic rendition. Most of you know Cheddar has medical issues and tears through his bandages. Pet clothes are expensive, so I made him a flannel out of an old sleeve. Hey, I wonder what happens if I put powdered milk into carbonated water. My cereal's loud and it's demanding to know why I'd sin against both nature and God. How does it taste? Bad. The fizz is coming from the carbonic acid in the water splitting up into CO2 and H2O over time. And carbonic acid is, as an acid, sour. By adding milk to sour water, you've created a very convincing emulation of spoilt milk, so I'll believe in a heartbeat that the taste is not great. I have mastered the potion. Instant spoilt milk, therefore earning the rank of the crappiest alchemist currently alive. No, I didn't skip that song because I don't like it. I skipped it because I don't have the emotional stability to listen to it right now. Also, like 10 to 15 years from now, I hope somebody makes one of those inspirational sports movies, except it's a 50-year-old woman who wants to play competitive online games, and everybody tells her she can't because she's too old, her reflexes are too slow, etc. And she gets this grizzled trainer, except they're like a 19-year-old who did have a promising career until their carpal tunnel syndrome ruined their chances of becoming the world champion, so they train her and she wins. The end. Movie of the year. The Grandmaster. You're both hired. In tonight's edition of very specific kinds of people I can't stand. Men who drive gigantic shiny pickup trucks that they obviously only have as ego boosters, who tailgate you on an empty stretch of freeway at night, and they've replaced their headlights with military-grade 500 proton scatter billion lumen searchlights that they utterly blind you with while honking for you to get out of your lane because they just desperately have to be a full 40 miles over the speed limit, or their ding-dong will just jump clean off them and hurl itself out of their window in shame. Every Saturday night, me pulls the bed a few inches away from the wall. Cat investigates. The bed is in the wrong place. I repeat, the bed is in the wrong place. Me takes off blankets and sheets. Cat, things are happening. The things are moving. Alert the authorities. Me, shut up, Cat. Takes out fresh sheets that barely even smell like me and the cat. Cat, oh no, not this again. Jumps on the bed to prevent depersonalized items from violating his space. Me, please get off the bed. Cat digs claws into $100 anti-allergen mattress cover. Looks at me with blown out pupils and yowls. Me throws a balled up bottom sheet at the cat to scare him off the bed and whips it over the bed's corners in one practiced move. Cat, traitor! I hate your omnivorous guts. Me flings Cat out the door and shuts it. Cat, I'll tear a hole right through the door of this rented apartment. I don't even care. You must die. Me applies Neosporin and bandages. Sometimes I'm like, my therapist doesn't really tell me anything I don't already know. But then I remember I used to eat scrambled eggs every single morning because I hated them, but I hated them less than I hate all other breakfast food. Don't at me. Waffles are a weekend food and they do not start me on a productive path. And my therapist said, why not eat a lunch food? And I said, explain. And she said, you know you're allowed to eat whatever food you want in the morning. You're not bound by law to the traditional American breakfast. My father's insurance pays $100 an hour for a woman to give me permission to eat a PB&J at 6 in the morning. Your average pineapple, peeled and cut, makes about 4.5 cups or 36 ounces of pineapple chunks. Cans of pineapple come in a variety of sizes, the most common being 20 ounce and 46 ounce, meaning that a single pineapple generally won't fill up a single can perfectly, which also means every time you eat pineapple from a can, somewhere somebody else has the can that has the rest of the same pineapple, meaning you can share a single fruit with a stranger from 100 miles away, and I think that's beautiful. How much sleep are you getting? Not enough, my guy. She's smiling because she knows her 80 plus teeth will replace themselves 50 different times during her life. I'm smiling for the same reason. Poor little guy looks like he's saying, you want me to leave? Okay. You sure you want me to go? Because I can stay if you want. Your body is a poop gun and eating is reloading. Yeah, I guess. Self-care is chugging a lava lamp. No, glug. Just place your hand over your chest. Feel the beat of your own heart. Appreciate that something is there working every second of the day to keep you alive. We got a problem. I can't feel a heartbeat. I felt my chest and my neck and my wrist. It's official. I'm dead. Sometimes I'm the bird and sometimes I'm the little girl. My brother is sitting in the chair in my room studying a practice test thing for his final test before he becomes a fully certified EMT tomorrow, and he's mumbling some of the questions out loud side and he just went, "A child has fallen from a monkey at school," and he just got dead quiet and stared at the wall for like a solid minute with the most stricken look on his face before he whispered, "There's no protocol for monkeys. Bro, it means monkey bars." Now he's googling child falls from monkey, and apparently the only thing that pops up is Fallout Boys thanks for the memories. One of my favorite things I've learned about animal studies is that you should avoid using colorful leg bands when you're banding birds, because you can accidentally completely skew the data because female birds prefer males that have colorful bands. Apparently if you put a red band on a male red-winged blackbird, his harem size can double. So like you can completely mess up the natural reproduction of a group of birds by giving a guy a bracelet so stylish that females cannot resist him. This is probably one of my favorite science anecdotes, and it's why it's so important to get outside the human umvelt and consider everything from the perspective of the animals that you're working with. To be honest, if my choices were a naked guy or a nearly identical naked guy with a rad bracelet, I'd pick the bracelet guy too. Things my dentist has actually said to me, well, either the x-rays lied to me or you're spontaneously creating teeth. I'm going with the second one because it's way cooler. When was the last time you flossed? Your gums aren't bleeding, which means I'm either not doing this hard enough or you actually do floss your teeth pretty regularly. You don't need to do a fluoride treatment. I just want to check my Facebook for a second, and this is the best excuse I can come up with. Don't worry, your insurance will cover it. Take a whole handful of toothbrushes. I can't order new ones in less ugly colors until these ones are gone. Remember not to eat or drink anything for half an hour. Or actually, forget that. Go eat lemons and drink coffee right now. I make money based on people's bad decisions. You should probably also stop brushing your teeth. I became a dentist because I like making children cry, and they don't let you do that as a regular doctor. Chaotic neutral dentist. So yesterday, April Fool's Day, my friend in a group call was like, "Hey, my girlfriend," another mutual friend, "is pregnant and actually has been for 5 months, but we didn't know. And we're having the baby in July." And everybody I know was collectively like, "Haha, yeah, screw you." And then he started pulling out dated ultrasounds with his girlfriend name on them and stuff with the correct weight and size for a 5-month-old baby. And we were like, "Wow, you put a lot of work into this." And then he got his girlfriend on the call and she was like, "Yup, I don't really look pregnant, but I am." And we were like, "Haha, wow, you're both really going for it, huh?" Anyway, April Fool's Day ended and we were like, "Hey dude, that was a good one." And he said, "No, it's real. I just thought it'd be funny to tell you on April Fool's Day." One of the most life-changing things I've ever learned came from Mythbusters, where they tested and proved with cognitive testing puzzles and reaction time tests that lying down and resting with the intention to sleep still provided significant mental benefits over just staying awake. Even if a person couldn't fall asleep in the amount of time that they had, it does help me to actually sleep to know that just laying down with my eyes shut is still doing me some good, and it does help me to not freak out or beat myself up when I stay up later than intended. Any amount of rest is better than no rest, so if you didn't know that, now you do. Showing up late to a meeting with a nice drink is a power move. Like with hot drinks, the cup is opaque and people can't tell the temperature, so they don't know how long ago you got it. Maybe it's hours old, maybe you just got caught in traffic, who can say? But ice drinks, it's clear. They can see the ice, they can see that it's still frozen. They look you in the eye and they know you were standing in line 15 minutes ago and made the conscious deliberate decision to get a mocha frap instead of being on time. And then you made another conscious deliberate decision to bring it into the meeting with you, informing everybody in attendance that it's on your list of priorities. Each and every one of them ranks firmly below 1, which is a mocha frappuccino. In primary school, we had a creative writing assignment where we had to write about a character in a new strange situation, and I wrote about a squid that was somehow teleported from the ocean to the forest floor and slowly choked to death for 2 pages. And I'll never quite forget my teacher's face, because it turns out she wanted, "This new school is scary, I hope I make friends," and not a graphic description of a squid dying. Well, that's the risk you take if you decide to teach creative writing. A group of divers found this single chair at the bottom of the ocean. Upon closer inspection, the chair was the type used in schools, so it's unlikely that it fell off a boat. Nobody truly knows how it got there. Detention. So I just came out to my Mormon grandma. I expected a lot of things. I had a lot of fears, prepared for many eventualities. I was not prepared for her to say, "Oh honey, I already knew. The Holy Ghost told me." The Holy Ghost? The Holy Ghost is out here snitching on me to my grandma? Somebody who understands the Trinity, please explain whether the Holy Ghost is supposed to be a big bloody tattletale. This is not an authorized use of the Holy Spirit, but grandmas are like that. Yeah, the Holy Ghost be like that sometimes. This one time I was at a street festival hosted by my uni, and there was a guy doing card tricks. I was watching him when I noticed he dropped a card, 7 of spades. I quickly put my shoe on it and I bent down to act like I was trying to tie my shoe. He then asked me for a volunteer, so I raised my hand. He asked me to say the name of a card at random, so I say 7 of spades. He does his trick that I guess was supposed to make it come to the top. He holds up the Ace of Hearts and says, "Is this your card?" And I held up the card and said, "No, but this is," and the crowd lost it. I handed the card back to the magician and I walked away. Later he comes up to me and asked me how I did it. I looked him in the eye, smiled and said, "Magicians never reveal their secrets," and walked away. This is some God tier truth trickery and I love it. I can't even genuinely come up with something funny to caption this. It's kinda absolutely like maybe the best picture of Michael I've ever seen. I mean, he looks like an animal, like some sort of predator, but not a good one. But maybe he can kill you if he gets lucky. Vsauce, Michael here. How fast can you run? My cat has a cute little girlfriend who comes to visit him daily. Even when it rains, plot twist, the introverted character who doesn't like big social gatherings or speaking in front of people is still an introvert by the end of the story because introversion is not a character flaw and it doesn't need to be overcome. Look, I'll go on your stupid adventure, but you better leave me alone when we get back. Bilbo Baggins. Not a good example. He was so introverted he used a cursed object to get away from people. Are you kidding? Excellent example. 100% relatable big mood. A girl in one of my classes sent out an email saying, "You'll be having a furry classmate this semester," and my heart stopped, but she was talking about her service dog. I really want to buy one of these grocery checkout dividers, but the lady behind the counter keeps putting it back. This is the most innocent joke I've ever read. My mum has these Winnie the Pooh salt and pepper shakers on the stove, but Christopher Robin fell over and it looks like he's having a breakdown while Pooh dissociates. My cat found a baby hummingbird in the grass this morning. He's been sitting like this for 45 minutes in awe. Wow, imagine being this good at painting flowers and yet completely incapable of rendering even a passable image of a cat. My dad used to work with Ted Bundy at the University of Utah, and every Friday my dad would say, "See ya Monday, Bundy," and I can't imagine how much Ted actually thought about murdering him for it. I'm still not over how yesterday when my flight landed, our pilot said that we arrived 50 minutes early because he took some shortcuts. Sir, we were in the sky, what do you mean? I once pretended to have a psychotic episode, and I smashed a MacBook with a bat to keep my brother and his fiancée from stumbling across pictures I photoshopped of her giving birth to me. Oh, okay. I love fat cats that get picked up and look kind of alarmed about it, as if their magnificent girth could have prevented this sort of injustice. If the earth really was flat, cats would have pushed everything off the edge by now. Black cats are wonderful because you can stare into the void, and not only does the void stare back, sometimes it trots up to you happily and begs for pats. The void is loud and wants chicken. My cat, for no reason at all except he's a cat and he can do whatever he wants. What if I run at this wall, do a sick kickflip, scare myself with the sound that it makes, and then proceed to run over your sleeping body? Would that be messed up or what? Cats are squishy cartoon friends that live in your house and do rad stunts. If they like you, they vibrate very loud, and this is somehow a real animal. Are cats solar powered? Why are they always trying to lie in the sun? With the heat of the sun helping them stay warm, they're actually conserving energy. They like to seek out sunlight for naps because it offsets the drop in basal metabolism that comes with sleep shutdown of certain body processes. What the hell? I was making a joke, but it's actually true. Yeah, but hear me out. Urban wizards. Wizards in big cities who wear skinny jeans and flannels, who make pencils out of their wands so they can hide them in plain sight, who get into back alley fights on brooms, who charm guys harassing girls at bars into having blue skin for the next week, who keep cats in their pet-free apartments by transfiguring them whenever their landlord stops in, who do street performances for money and wink at little kids when they pocket their wands, who exchange secret smiles when they pass each other. Urban wizards. I wish there were necklaces given to us at birth that were half of a unique shape, and your soulmate wore the other half, and they got warmer the closer together you were and colder the further away you were, so you could go on this journey when you're ready to find your other half. That way you could be spared of all the pain and heartbreak of being played with by those who don't take dating as serious as you. You should write a book. I had a dream where I was sitting in a dark office and reality felt really altered and strange, and there was just a fish tank illuminating the room, and then this bloody fish looked at me and grinned with human teeth, and in this super deep voice said, "You've been here a while. Better wake up before you forget how to." And I woke up in a cold sweat. Dude, I think you went to hell. I remember I used to watch The Bear in the Big Blue House every day when I was little, and he always does that smelling thing in the beginning, and one time he sniffed and went, "You smell like ham and cheese," and I was eating a ham and cheese, so I cried and I never watched the show again because I thought he could actually smell me. Last night I had this dream where Shrek was turned into a lady ogre, and Fiona was asked if it was cool with her, and she said, "Yeah, I'm bi Shrexel," and I woke up crying. Man, this essay is taking forever. That made me laugh harder than it should. Huge pet peeve in video games is when you can't hold your breath underwater for long, or it takes a good while to regain your breath above water. Unrealistic. Like, my condolences to the developers for your lack of breath support, but that just could not be me. Are you a frog or perhaps a turtle? I'm a saxophone player. Victorian female medical students. Looks like one of them had a really tough semester. A delicate scale. Yip. Rough. Bark. Boof. There are 5 frogs staring at me right now, but only one can be America's Next Top Model. May I offer you a cup of warm boy? No! I love photos of tiny cats where the photo is taken a little bit further away to put into perspective how ridiculously tiny the cat is. I woke up this morning and I found my cats guarding my basement like this. Beware of their riddles. One lies and one tells the truth, unless you ask if they've already been fed. Then they both lie. Friend. This still cracks me up. Like, can you imagine you're 130 years old and suddenly a gigantic alien baby starts following you around? around. It's fun to draw cats when you don't know cat anatomy. They look normal to me. Cats don't know what anatomy is either. Woofle. Best Halloween costume so far. Whole roasted chicken. When you're having a bad time but you're trying to be positive about it. Hit by a car and dumped in the trash, but this pigeon isn't giving up. I have one really photogenic cat and one idiot, 1 cup of bunny. I googled swimming pigeon once and I still haven't recovered from this picture. I like animals that look like they have information. I made us some matching bracelets. I love you. That's so cute. Americans will measure with anything but the metric system. A doggy-sized pothole patched on the north side. So this is what a baby flamingo looks like. My mum crocheted a blanket and one of the cats kept trying to lay on it the whole time she was working on it, and every single time she put it down. So she used the extra yarn to make him a tiny one, and he loves it so much. What is this hamster preaching? A family of raccoons photobombed a wedding photo shoot. Those are the bridesmaids. Oh, this argument is serious. Every time I shower, he just stands there and screams. Oh my god, 2 seals got stuck trying to get in the same ice hole. Here's my cat sitting on the best wedding gift we ever received. A blanket with a picture of his face on it. A duck with 4 legs and no wings. Duck noise. He's looking for his wings. Who took his wings? You know when you're overwhelmed and you stand in the middle of your room like this? Yeah. Ordering pizza. Special instructions. Send your cutest delivery boy. This is what I do every time, and then last time I did it, I got a call from an old Chinese man saying, I'm the only one working. Is it okay if I come? He got a $20 tip. So I went to a new thrift store yesterday and I found this. $8. I hope you bought it. I was talking to my brothers yesterday and we decided the best way to own a guy who takes off his shirt to fight is to pick his shirt up and put it on. That might be one of the ultimate power moves. Or pick it up and say, lift your arms up, and then try to put it back on him. My refrigerator that has legs barrels towards me and grabs me and stuffs me into its vegetable drawer and then casually walks away. Hey, is your refrigerator running? My refrigerator that has legs is standing in the middle of your street gripping a rolling pin. Are you running? People who don't cook their cereal don't realize what they're missing out on. The heat of the flame really brings out the sweetness of the marshmallows. OP, I'm coming to your home to beat you in the face and ass. I'm not very good at taking panoramas. There's been a terrible accident. If you step on a person's foot, they open their mouth like a trash can. Laughing my ass off. Why am I still laughing at this? Really? I say to inanimate objects that aren't working like they usually do. Stay. I glare at inanimate objects that continuously fall over. Thank you. I say exasperatedly to the inanimate objects when they finally do work right or stay put. Sorry. I say to the table I bumped into. Shush. I say to the inanimate object that keeps making noise. Yeah, I'm coming. I huff at the persistent kitchen timer. Why do people get so weird around wheelchair users? I'm literally just a person sitting down. You're sitting down and moving at the same time, like some kind of witch. So I heard this story secondhand many years ago, but the gist was that a friend of a friend lived in what was generally considered a bad neighborhood. Because he was a super poor college student and it was what he could afford, he didn't have any furniture, he just slept on a blanket on the floor and had a milk crate for a chair and like an old wire spool as a table. No TV, nothing in the fridge, no microwave, basically just bare walls and a roof to keep the weather off. So one day he comes home and there's a man in his apartment just standing there with this look of utter amazement and horror on his face, and then he turns to the guy who just entered and says, "This your place? Cause I broke in to rob you, but god man, you ain't got nothing. Wait here, I'll be right back." And the burglar left, leaving a puzzled college student alone in his empty apartment. But sure enough, the burglar came back a while later and brought some friends, and they delivered a table, a couple of chairs and a small TV. I think I got you a bed too, but that might take a couple of days. So the poor college student made some friends, and he didn't ask where they got the stuff. Oh my god, chaotic good. It's always this doll is haunted and is ominously shattering the china, and never how can I provide adequate enrichment for my haunted doll so that she doesn't destroy stuff out of boredom? Responsible haunted doll ownership means acknowledging your doll's need for interaction and playtime. Make sure to give her plenty of stuff to look at with her rolling eyes and shatterproof things to knock over. Remember that knocking picture frames off walls and inverting crosses and leaving long and disturbing claw marks in your wallpaper is natural haunted doll behavior, and it should be handled in a way which is both healthy for you and your doll. Your doll's not evil, she's just bored. 25 to 35 is such a weird age because you're 100% a bread and butter standard edition millennial, but the cool teens are like, okay boomer, because you have a real job, but the actual boomers at your job are like, I'm not going to listen to a literal freaking child as they download 16 self-replicating viruses. And meanwhile, the Generation X's are telling you to refinance a mortgage for a house that you don't have, and you're sitting there at the adults table with the pretty tasty casserole you cooked because you've finally figured out how to do that, but everybody is eating the boomers store-bought macaroni instead, and admittedly they do sort of taste similar, so it probably wasn't worth all the trouble of cooking from scratch, and you're trying to comfort the freshly graduated sobbing 22-year-old next to you because she just woke up here and doesn't know where she is, but you have like maybe $5,000 in a savings account labeled retirement that grows approximately 12 cents a year, and you keep eating dry macaroni while smiling incomprehensibly, and then periodically blacking out. Like what? My neighbors are hardcore drunk. Like 9 a.m. and the dude is drinking vodka, but he had a cat that's pretty much his honest-to-God caregiver, because I've seen this cat visibly screaming at this man to keep him from hurting himself, and sometimes when he hasn't been outside for a while, the cat will scream at my door until I go outside to knock on the door to check on him. Cats are literal angels. I have a cat named Kitty Pride who has an extra thumb and these giant paws, and while she's not super bright, she did learn that she likes being pet, so I must like being petted, right? So if I'm watching TV alone, she'll come up with her giant paw and gently stroke my arm or hand until I pet her back, and then she waits and then pets me again, and then it goes on for a while. Cats are angels. My cat once stuffed my bath mat into the litter box. All jokes aside, goblin core actually helps so much. Short but chubby. Perfect goblin body. Self-conscious about wearing clothes you like in public. Goblins don't care about other people's opinions. A bit of a hoarder, which causes your house to constantly be messy. Goblins are all about that. General weird sense of humor. Yeah fam, so are most goblins. Tend to make random noises as part of conversation. Welcome to the language of the goblins. Eating constantly or suffer food guilt. Feasting is a goblin societal norm, my friend. Bye-bye insecurities. Hello goblin. Someone else could do it better than me. Not relevant, babe. Nobody else is gonna do it. You can't do a mediocre job if you're the only person doing it. What if somebody else does it better later? Good. Technically, the Wright brothers built the worst aeroplanes in the world. If you do it first, you do it worst, and history will thank you for it. This is big inspiration for me. I was planning on not doing the ideas I had, but now all my excuses are gone. Transports guinea pigs from point A to point B with my mind. Marzipan asks that you do not interrupt her nap with your telepathic powers again. Thank you. Marzipan, I'm so sorry. I'll never forgive myself for doing this to you. I'm so sorry. Hashtag guinea pigs. I swear my cats have developed a division of labor when it comes to pestering me for stuff. One of them only bugs me about empty food bowls, and the other only bugs me about empty water bowls, never vice versa. I've literally watched the cat who only asks for water run and fetch the other cat, so she could give me hell about the food situation. Cats are incredibly intelligent, but so weird. Fact of the day, zebra stripes are not always black and white. Sometimes they're black and orange. This is a giraffe. My dad's a diver. He used to dive with seals, and he said that they would just play around you, and basically they were mermaid dogs. A pregnant ghost bat having an ultrasound. Congratulations! It's a bat. Delighted bat noises. The point of officially naming a pet is not actually to use that name, but to have a baseline from which to come up with every conceivable nickname to call them instead. You bury a seed not because it looks nice in the dirt, but because the limbs that branch out will look nice in the sky. Congrats on contributing to the ancient Tumblr tradition of turning crap posts into profound poetry. When someone says, "Oh shut up, you know you love me. I'd sell you to Satan for one corn chip." Knowing swans, this is either a very brave man or a very scared one. The swans have a hostage. Where did you get Cheetos that big? That's a chihuahua. Those are carrots. This post is a mess. Have a seat, we need to talk. US state borders, but they're based off rivers and mountains. Haha, get Europed. I used to have geese, so here's a tip for everybody. If a goose is attacking you, don't run. No matter what, stand your ground. They can fly, but when they're mad, they don't usually try to fly. Hold your hands in front of you, ready to grasp. When the goose gets close, grab it by the neck up near the head and squeeze. Not tight enough to choke the goose, but tight enough so they can't break free. You can hold them until they calm down, or just do the next step right away. The next step is literally to just chuck them as far as possible and then run for your life. It makes the goose know that you're in charge and you have a better chance of getting away. Trust me, I've done this so many times that I've lost count. I can't tell if this is a joke post or actual advice, but I do know geese are the bloody worst. Actual advice, just yeet a goose. I was talking with my therapist about how it's possible to completely lose one's own identity to people pleasing. When you grow up being constantly preoccupied with concerns about what other people want, and the ideal outcome is always whatever makes everybody else happy, it's possible to simply not learn to know yourself at all. If the only thing you've ever strived for in life is to make everybody else happy, you just never pause to think what you want or what you would enjoy independently from anybody else's desires. As an example of this, I recall that for the longest time I just didn't listen to music when I was alone because the thought never occurred to me. I didn't have my own taste in music. I was fine with listening to whatever the people I was with wanted to listen to, but whose music would I be listening to if I wasn't with everybody else? She thought this was a great observation and gave me a homework assignment to find a song I like, just on my own and for myself, and show it to her next week. So yeah, I guess my therapist is about to learn about the existence of Mongolian folk metal. Mortal Kombat has the best characters because none of them feel like they belong in the same genre. The main trio is a monk, an army girl, and an actor. There's ninjas and gods and sorcerers and cyborgs, and a guy that has knives in his hands, and a blind samurai, and an immortal cowboy, and a naked bug lady, and an Aztec war god. The keeper of this time is some bold woman voiced by Jennifer Hale. There's a character who's just a cop, like not even a cop who has incredible martial arts skills or anything, just a completely average cop who got pulled into this. His power is gun, and he once defeated a big 4-round fire-breathing tiger monster using only the power of Nerf gun. Mortal Kombat really captures the feeling of a bunch of kids making their toys fight. I'm not against vaping, but man, vaping 2 inches from my face on the subway is a ridiculous a-hole kind of move. This dude was billowing like he was auditioning for the role of a haunted house fog machine. The humidity in the whole car changed. He was ruining haircuts, just jump-starting the water cycle. Condensation was dripping down my glasses. People were slipping off poles. It was chaos. It was like watching one man try to terraform the moon, a planet that has one dense root beer-scented atmosphere blocking out the sun and choking all life. I consider this a sort of prose poem, to be honest. I asked my Uber driver how long he's been Uber driving, and he said, I never started. And then I laughed, and then he didn't laugh, and then we rode in silence for 10 minutes, and then I sneezed, and he said, what was that sound you just made? And I said, a sneeze, and he said, okay, 5 stars, because it's clearly his first day on Earth. I love dogs who are obsessed with licking people. This human is pleasing me. I have to put my tongue on it. Dogs treat us like we treat cool rocks. Your relationship to rocks is apparently very different than mine. Somebody help me find that image of 4 cats being held up in front of a brightly coloured background. The cats do look calm being held, but each have their own personality. Never mind, I found it. I was not prepared for Sheriff Snorlax. This town ain't big enough for the one of me. I think some of you need to eat a slice of cheesecake and listen to ambient rain noises for 10 hours. I want you to know I did this exact thing yesterday, and it was so surreal seeing this post. I thought I wrote it in my sleep. You're one of my Sims. My wife got this tapestry in the mail for the wall of her yoga room. She opened it up and laid it out to look at it, and then Toki, of course, laid down right in the middle. So now he's on a low-budget adventure flying through the woods. Enjoy. This little lizard jumped on me and started rubbing on my fingers. After some time, I realized he was getting rid of his old skin. Mr. Tiny Lizard chose me to be his helping hand in this important stage of his life, and I feel very honored. A beautiful long-haired tuxedo cat shows off his new prosthetic back paws after a severe injury. Feeties. I love him. The prophecy is complete. If your hands are cold, it's only your ghost boyfriend holding your hand. My feet are cold. I feel so down. I can barely even bring myself to follow the arrow that's pointing towards the smoothie bar. Why do I vibe with this? Oh, to be a slightly ridiculous looking sea monster on a geographically inaccurate medieval map. My favorite harmless prank I've heard of was done by this girl whose dad was a geologist, and they'd go on day hikes with his geologist friends and co-workers, and when she got bored, she'd habitually pick up a random rock and go ask him what it is, and one of them would explain what kind of rock it is, how it probably got there, and usually some notions of the more unusual features the rock had, if any. And she had a friend who had gone once on a tourist trip to Iceland and brought back a volcanic rock, so she borrowed the rock and took it with her on the hike, and after 2 randomly picked up, hey dad, what rock is this? She presented the volcanic rock in the same fashion as all the others. 3 minutes later, there are 5 middle-aged and older men circled around this mysterious rock, all agreeing on what it is, but not why it is. They keep asking her questions. Where did she find it? Were there any other rocks around like it? Was it like this on the ground? People walking past the group try to stretch their necks to see over the geologist's shoulders to see what's the source of the amazement, and in the end she couldn't take it anymore, burst into laughter and confessed. They agree that it was pretty clever. Do you ever think about how Mountain Dew is a really poetic name, and how if somebody didn't know what it was, they'd probably guess some herbal tea made from the finest leaves of the Alps, but instead it's radioactive gamer soda? If you were offered $20,000 to eat this whole fruit platter by yourself in 1 week, would you be able to do it? Who is this? Who is this question even directed to? People who have some sort of actual dietary reason to avoid fruit? Who looks at a fruit plate and goes, nah, not unless I have a week and a $20,000 cash prize on the line? Is the fruit platter actually the size of a 4-door sedan? Has it been poisoned? Who made this? I think guy who thinks another guy is his sworn enemy but the other guy is just normal about it is one of the better and funnier tropes ever. This dude that works at my local Taco Bell says taco-tastic, and when I asked for a chalupa he said beefsteak or chicken, which are you picking? I asked him for as many fire sauces he could give me and he said, sure, I don't pay for them. And the first time I saw him we asked him if he was doing okay and he said, no, I work here. How dull for you to live your life without any hills to die on. You on your vast flat barren plains of compromise and acceptance and accommodation, while I reign supreme over the lush rolling highlands of stupid crap that I've irrationally chose to stake my entire identity on. As somebody who was terrified of having their own opinion, this is truly inspiring. The hills are alive with all the damns I give on select topics. What I say, I'm touch-starved. What you think I mean? I need a hug. What I truly mean, I need somebody to platonically lie across me with their full weight crushing my body and providing deep pressure until my errant soul is reabsorbed into my flesh. Also, a hug would be nice. I've had to explain this to people. You think it's weird, but when I add, like cats, they seem to understand. Hey babe, is everything okay? You haven't touched your krashak. Physically, yes, I could eat a krashak, but emotionally, imagine the toll. I love when dogs and cats let you pat the hell out of them and they enjoy it so much. Like, yeah dude, real quick, I need to play you like a bongo. And they're like, God yeah, I've been waiting for somebody to play me like a bongo. I think besnouted being used to refer to animals with snouts is such a wonderful word. It sounds honorary, like they've been awarded a great blessing. They have. Hey, does anybody know the fastest way to clean up milk that's covering every goddamn inch of the kitchen floor? I know a gal. She's on her way, sitting on and touching warm rocks. Now that's the good stuff. Are you a reptile? What are you, a cop? Mind your business. Hi, Sebastian has this phobia. I guess you would call it of eating alone. He won't eat unless somebody is in the same room eating as him. I don't know why, and we've taken him to the vet to see if it's a stomach problem or why he wasn't eating. Until we started to notice a pattern. Only when you're in the room eating will he start to chow down. So we put his bowl on his side of the table and he eats breakfast, lunch and dinner with us. He'll wait until you're seated and eating to start on his meal. It's really sweet, though we still have no idea why he does it. Possums are great because depending on how you look at them, they're either horrible things or just soft and fluffy dudes with love instead of brain cells. Table below. Side view. Horrible. Front view. Full of love. Side view. Fluffy front view. In a simple experiment, researchers at the University of Chicago sought to find out whether a rat would release a fellow rat from an unpleasantly restrictive cage if it could. The answer was yes. The free rat, occasionally hearing distress calls from its compatriot, learned to open the cage and did so with greater efficiency over time. It would release the other animal even if there wasn't the payoff of a reunion. Astonishingly, if given access to a small hoard of chocolate chips, the free rat would usually save at least one treat for the captive, which is a lot to expect of a rat. The researchers came to the unavoidable conclusion that what they were seeing was empathy and apparently selfless behavior driven by that mental state. At the village today, I made small talk with the swan breeder, trying to steer the conversation to the topic of firewood because he makes it and I need a steer or two. So I start with asking how his swans are doing, and he sighs and tells me that one of his swans was decapitated by a wild boar in broad daylight the other day. I sort of winced sadly, like, oh yeah, I hate when that happens. Not an optimal reaction, but you expect conversations to go a certain way, you know, and it's hard to readjust your inner protocol when you're like, hi, how are things? And they're like, great. Aside from the headless swan, you need a whole other set of social graces to handle rural small talk, explaining with hand gestures that swans attack by thrusting their head forward. So like, it happens, the boar guillotine happens. At a loss for what to say, I asked, do you lose swans often? And he says, no, not very often. But for example, I made a local enemy, a person I mean, a while ago, so that guy stole a swan from me and ate it. This is why I live alone in the woods. I just don't know where to take a conversation from there. Still, in between two anecdotes about swan beheading and assassination, I did manage to awkwardly secure my winter's supply of firewood. When a person dies and nobody will miss them, the mourning is assigned to a random human. This is why you sometimes just feel sad. From now on, if anybody asks me why I'm randomly sad, instead of saying, I don't know, or something, I'm gonna look them dead straight in the eyes and say, I've been assigned to mourn the death of a stranger, and walk away. Sir, will you please stop doing the worm? Your wife is in labor. Ma'am, will you please stop being in labor? Your husband is doing the worm. Rats can be taught to play hide and seek, and they squeal with joy when they win, scientists have found. Finally, some good news. They concluded that the rats were having fun partially because the rats voluntarily initiated the games, hopped around joyfully and teased researchers by pretending to come close and then skittering away. Rats are very good. These scientists are getting grant money to play games with rats all day. That's living the dream. Tip of the day, if you're pouring concrete by a pond that has ducks, it's not a good idea to let the whole crew go to lunch at the same time. Okay, but I'd pay extra for this driveway. Can I please get every neighborhood kid and animal to come walk across my driveway? Can I get a cat to run around on there? This flock of ducks did such an amazing job. I was 18 months old when my parents built their house. After pouring the concrete slab for the foundation, my father, world's most sentimental man, carried me down into the hole so he could preserve a single imprint of my little baby foot in the house he was building for me to grow up in. Naturally, I wriggled loose, so what is actually preserved for posterity in my parents' basement floor is my mad dash through this glorious new mud pit, followed by my father's footprints in hot pursuit, a visible scuffle where the fugitive was captured, and then my father's prints returning to the ladder. None of y'all know what propaganda actually is, do ya? It's when a British person takes a really good look at something. This is the absolute funniest thing anybody has ever added to one of my posts. Thank you for your service. Stop shaming people for reading kids' books. Adult books are about sad people having affairs, while kids' books have a magic tree house or a worm driving an apple. You tell me who's winning. To the woman who got on the stair climber next to me, went 47 seconds, said screw this, I'm going to Starbucks, and got off and walked out of the gym. I think I love you. Doctor says in 10 years time, humans will be able to live and work until the age of 120. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm at work and a passenger asked me, what's that noise? I realized she was talking about the engine, so I said that. She then asked me if I can turn it off. We're on an Airbus 30,000 feet up in the air. I just got destroyed by an 8-year-old in Monopoly who, at the end, said to me, everything you worked so hard for, I took away, and it made me feel good. My mum stood 8 feet away in the kitchen while she texted me this. Keep your DoorDash app ready. I do not like the way your sister's mashed potatoes are looking. Living with a tall dude is ridiculous. ridiculous. I just turned around and he was walking our cat around on the ceiling. You wouldn't get our bond. Life hack. Got something you need to do at a certain time every day. Example, take meds. Start giving your cat a treat right before you do it. You may have trouble remembering, but your cat absolutely will not. That's damn good advice. A cat wrote this. Giraffe tour drops a quarter. The crappy comic. Okay, but this is the purpose of the internet. I can look at a cute comic about a giraffe centaur who dropped his quarter trying to get a crappy vending machine snack. In no universe would I think of making this myself. How awesome. When I don't immediately feed Morty in the morning, he pretends like he's passing away. A quick study of the body reveals that the thug is still alive and merely pretending to be dead. It may not be in a pineapple, but an ocean expedition exploring more than a mile under the surface of the Atlantic captured a startlingly silly sight this week. A sponge that looked very much like SpongeBob SquarePants, and right next to it, a pink sea star, a doppelganger for Patrick, SpongeBob's dim-witted best friend. Bro, I'm crying. Nautical nonsense. It's something I wish. It's Friday, post-horsemouth bird. Ned, how do I remove this from my memory? You can't. He lives there now. Guinea pig Instagram accounts are so funny because the captions will be like, uh-oh, Pumpkin Wumpkin is being extra sassy today, and the picture is just this. You come to my house, you see this. Oh, you have kids? No, I reply. Rabbits? No, again I reply. You look closer. Inside is a Roomba. It's almost time to feed him, I say. Your eyes ask a handful of questions, but you remain silent. I sprinkle a handful of dirt in the enclosure. Just some of the changes in design for the penguin symbol on old penguin paperbacks. He did a little dance, and for this crime he was imprisoned in a bubble. No, they liked his little dance so much they gave him a spotlight. I was at the coffee shop in the village and somebody asked me how my llamas are doing, and a woman overheard and told me that when she was a kid, her parents used to have a couple of llamas in their sheep farm, and every single sheep in their flock imprinted on one of the two llamas. Each sheep chose the best, most charismatic llama according to mysterious sheep criteria, and never wavered in their ovine loyalty. Each of the two llamas were worshipped by a small sub-flock of devoted sheep who followed him everywhere like the apostles of Jesus, and only left their field for transhumans when led by their llama. The funniest thing is the way this woman overheard the word llama and immediately came to sit next to me to tell me this, like she'd been waiting since childhood to share her bewilderment about the two religious congregations of sheep led by rival llama prophets in her family farm. My grandfather always had candy in his pockets, and one time when I got really sick and I was in the hospital, my dad told him not to give me any candy. He pulled out his pockets to show that he hadn't even brought any, and I got really sad, but as soon as my dad walked out of the room, he then proceeded to take off his hat, and he had 2 chewy chocolate candy toffees and 2 orange Fanta toffees, and I'll never forget the happiness and surprise I felt in that one moment in my entire life. I took this picture a while back and now I can't unsee it. God, I love people who refer to anything as an adventure. Want to go on an adventure? Goes to McDonald's for ice cream at 1 a.m. It's me, I am people. Yeah, that's definitely an adventure. Sometimes you just gotta go on Google Maps and look at Eastern Russian towns. Me and this guy are having a great day. I'm watching a documentary on Netflix about animals getting prosthetics, and this vet hand sculpted a prosthetic beak for an injured swan, and the very first thing it did was use its new beak to bite somebody. That's very on brand for swans. Pee in a cup and leave it outside near ants. If they avoid it, it's probably not diabetes. If they seem interested, you might have sugar in your pee and you should get checked out. What the hell is this 1200s medical science 101? As a specimen professor who checks body fluids for a living, I can confirm this is a real, vaguely accurate ancient way of checking for diabetes, and it dates back at least to Pliny the Elder. No, I know it's real, but this isn't the Middle Ages. I can literally go to the UC or ER if I need to. Why would I resort back to this? Actually, never mind. The American healthcare system is absolutely too expensive. You're right. Thinking back to the first story I ever started writing down, I was like 7 or 8, about a group of stray cats who every full moon took the form of human kids. They actually were human kids who had been killed all at different times by different people. Their bodies were all dumped by the side of the road where a cat had been hit by a car previously, and their souls landed in the cat's bodies. Eventually, they all found each other and decided that every full moon when they shifted, they'd try to solve each other's murders one by one. It was going to be a series with each book focusing on a different kid's murder mystery. I told my mum about it once briefly, and she said, "Those cat books, warrior cats, are making you creepy. Kids would eat that crap up, man. Do it. Holy crap, that's a really cool idea." Lawyer walks into the courtroom with their briefcase, but it's this. I just saw a really chunky raccoon on my way home from work. An artist rendition. My immediate reaction was to yell, "Chunky boy," despite the fact I was the only one in the car. This has the positive opposite energy of my day today when I passed a Canadian goose, rolled the window down and called it a biatch. This is Becky and she mows the grass. Is she available for hire? Becky chooses her own jobs. She will decide. Bears have absolutely no right to be as cute as they are. I want to hug them and pet them. Big fluffy dog, supersized. This thing is one of the most dangerous predators in North America, is bulletproof and could kill me in milliseconds without even breaking a sweat, and And just look at his big old paws and his big old nose, his whittle ears. I love him. Human brain, bear will kill you. Monkey brain, haha, fluffy. Vultures are holy creatures. Tending the dead, bowing low, bared head. Whispers to cold flesh, your old name is not your king. I rename you, everything. That doesn't sound right, but I don't really know enough about vultures to dispute it. Fun fact, vultures are also responsible for keeping diseases at bay. Vulture stomach acid is so powerful that it can kill anthrax and many other deadly diseases. So when they consume the carcass of a creature that has died of a disease, they actually destroy the disease within it too. So yeah, vultures are 100% holy creatures because they not only eat the dead, but they protect the living from death. The absolute biggest bipedal F-up is that we can't lie down and look forward comfortably. Dogs and cats and cows are out here lying down in the grass and just seeing everything. And what do we have? Lie on your stomach and mess up your neck? Lie on your back and shove 400 pillows under your head? Lie on your side and just accept everything's bloody sideways? I hate this evolutionary form. Becoming one of those deranged I trained myself to move around like a horse TikTokers, but it's just how to lie down and look forward at the same time. I want what he has. My neighbor's puppy found a hole in the fence, so he popped by to say hello yesterday. Why is the sky trapped in his eyeballs? Today I learned that blobfish are actually a normal looking fish. It just decompresses when you take it out of extreme depths. Imagine aliens discovering humans and nicknaming us after what we look like when we explode in the vacuum of space. My idiot furry son has one job at night, balk at things and make them go away. Easy, right? However, a bear has learnt that my furry son can be bought. This is the third time that he's been gifted deer bones in exchange for being allowed to access my trash, and he keeps doing it. Corrupt doggo bribed by bear. Symbiosis. Husbeast. Oh my god, this bear is an economist. He's exchanging goods for services, and for goods he perceives as more valuable. That's economics. Husbeast. They should call him Yogi because he's definitely smarter than the average bear. The witches have come to lay their claim. My son Egg and his brother Cheese. Are they not both your sons? Why is Cheese not given the son title? I don't like him. When the mafia finally catches my ass. Say what you will, old people gossip is so much more entertaining than young person gossip. Riley J the sophomore is in trouble because she got caught vaping in the bathroom. Cool, I guess. Old lady Betsy from my church just admitted to killing her father with cyanide back in the 50s. And also, she made the almond tea for the church meeting. Everyone shut up. Margaret just implied that Ruth's husband left her because her pancakes lack airiness. Things are getting intense. The crumb. This is the most intense picture I've ever seen. He begged no more, but the holy hand ignored his plea. Unfortunately, due to several experiences in my youth, I can't just walk up and join the circle of people talking, but it does sound lovely, thank you. Go ahead and mingle are four of the scariest words in the English language. Well, how am I supposed to leave the house now? You aren't? Oh my god. Me? I wish to spend an extended time rubbing my fingers over some small patch of pleasantly textured surface, perhaps the fur of an animal. The miniaturized apex predator with which I share my home vibrates at a soothing frequency to encourage this behavior. Professor Puddin' Pop, Colonel Snazzy Pants, the good King Snuggle Wumps, someone at the Wisconsin Humane Society is really good at naming kittens. I found an old PC monitor, decorated a little. What website is that? The only good one? I'm not lost, I'm visiting. Thank you for visiting, little friend. I love you. I have an update on this little dude. Apparently he's now been permanently banned from leaving his house because he walked his ass down to the train station and got on a train and spent the day hanging out in a cafe a few suburbs over. An important document. I want him on my desk by tomorrow morning. I took my cat on his first walk yesterday, in which 7 cats all discovered the same slightly elevated flat thing, and they claim it as their own while pretending the other 6 cats don't exist. Did you chop down this tree? Is that the Lorax? This just in, he figured out where the laser comes from. It was 2 a.m. and my cat was making too much noise, so I wrapped it in a blanket and put it in the laundry basket. I just checked and she fell asleep. Laser sighted. Assume attack position. The dead cat liked to hang out in the sink by himself, and then the kittens found him. He looked so annoyed. I didn't sign up for this crap. It literally cannot get cuter than this. I will always reblog Angry Dad Cat. Tuffy was mad that he couldn't fit in the kitten house, so he squished it. The second cat looking at the camera like, do you see this BS? Today my girlfriend said, when Donkey asked Shrek what his name is, Shrek pauses before he says Shrek, and I'm convinced he came up with it on the spot. We weren't even talking about Shrek. I can't stop thinking about it, or about how lucky I am to be with her. One time playing Minecraft, in order to justify stealing a villager's crops all the time, I decided to build a house near them and spend a lot of my time improving the village and defending the villagers. It took me a while to realize I'd accidentally become a feudal lord. I complimented an old lady customer's little round glasses, and she said, why thank you, somebody told me they had a steampunk look. I haven't been called a punk in a long time, much less a steamy one. I'm flatlining. This is so pure. A new definition of steampunk has been made. Fun fact, if your breasts are somewhere between a 36C and a 36D, then they weigh about the same as your brain. If you're above a D cup, you've probably got more boob lube than brain. And don't I know it, I am the snake in my boot. Jesus Christ, his face. If you ever jump into my arms when you see me because you're that excited, there's a 95% chance I'll fall in love with you. There's also a 95% chance that I'll fall in general though, so be careful. A ball pit, but it's just these. I dive in head first, cutting through like butter. I'm never seen again. Round blue stones, take me home to the pit where I belong. Isn't it odd how the human mind expands inwardly forever? I can build characters and worlds and universes and define new laws of nature, construct stories and timelines and fit it all together inside my own head, and yet I can't draw a lamp. I can't express how true this is. This taxidermy was found inside a late 19th century French mansion, which has been sealed up for more than 100 years. Good to know people were just as weird before the internet. Thinking of the time I ordered Olive Garden online and I put please speak to me in an Italian accent in the special request category and I completely forgot about it. And when I went to pick it up, the guy comes out and goes, "Hey, I got your order, boopity." And when I told him he didn't actually have to do it, he was like, no, I was looking forward to it. I was the only one brave enough to do it. Today I learned that the shortest marriage in recorded history was 3 minutes. On the way out of the courthouse, the bride tripped over and fell. Instead of helping her up, the groom called her stupid. On the spot, the bride insisted the magistrate annul the wedding, and the magistrate complied. Good for her. And when we finally kill the gods, neither hell nor heaven will be waiting for them, because they created those to imprison us. I burnt my eggs and I got mad, sorry. Ancient Europeans were lactose intolerant. They drank milk anyway, study finds. This is so funny and so human. Of course they did. A friend of mine tried to sell his soul on eBay and the starter price was $10 and people were bidding on it, but before anything happened, eBay took it down and sent him an email explaining that if he was selling a soul that didn't actually exist, then it was against their policy, and if he was selling a real soul, then that's a human body part and it's also against their policy. Well done eBay for solving that philosophical conundrum. Underrated trope. I've lost my memory and I don't know who you are, but I just have this feeling that I'm supposed to trust you. But the feeling is absolutely completely 100% wrong. Person 1, I don't know what it is about you. I just know that I can trust you. Person 2, their actual literal worst enemy. Excuse me, what? Cue enemies to friends to lovers speed run. My toddler's 3 years old and won't eat anything other than fine porterhouse steaks and sweet port wine. You need to discipline your child. Port's a horrible choice for the main course, and it wildly clashes with a rich béarnaise. Dude, he's 3 and uncultured. Get a new child. I got a rug burn on my arm knee like 4 months ago, and it's still dark there. I think I got a scar from rug burn. What the hell is an arm knee? That thing? That's an elbow. What's that? It's hideous. Well, that's not very nice. It's just a donkey. Shrek is the god of self-confidence. Little old Italian lady. Do you have zucchini? Me. Yes, right here. Lady. Is how much? Me. $2.99 a pound. Lady. It's usually $1.49. Me. Yes, in the summer. Lady pauses, then grabs 2. I put it in a soup. Me. Oh nice, what kind are you making? Lady. You will not fantasize about my soup. And then she walked away. You will not fantasize about my soup will be in my head forever. I love you, little old Italian lady. My dad always tells me that when he's with people bragging about their kids' accomplishments, he goes, yeah, but are they like cool? And the parents always give him a confused look and he goes, are they cool? My kids are so cool. I love hanging out with them. And it always throws people off. And I think that's so funny and sweet. Like I may be an idiot with just about 0 accomplishments, but at least my dad thinks I'm cool. This guy in my political science class was watching a Bob Ross video and following along in MS Paint. Okay, honestly, this is cute. He's doing a good job. I wonder if my pets have like a proper language and when I try to speak back to them, I'm just sort of speaking jargon. Like for example, my cat always speaks to me when I come home and I meow back to her, and then she'll meow again even though I don't think twice about it. To her, it's probably a situation like this. Her meowing. I'm glad you're home. Me meowing back. Tax benefits. Her meowing. Why do you always do this? Cats actually have a human-specific language. Cats don't often meow at each other, and they seem to use subvocal communications that humans can't hear to chat cat to cat. However, cats seem to use what humans would call shout until you're understood to speak to humans. So basically, it's more like, I'm glad you're home. Tax benefits. No, I'm glad you're home. Waffle Lion. It's okay. I love you too, my dumb human. I've been a sheep caretaker for like 2 days, and already I'm like, wow, I get it. I get why these were some of the earliest mammals to ever be domesticated. They look up at humans with this sort of dumb but all at once innocent and pure and trusting expression. They're happy to see you. They follow you around. They like to be rubbed under their chins. Maybe it's just some latent Scottish Highland Shepherd DNA I still have in me. But I look at my sheep charges and I suddenly see why the love of God for humanity is so often described as a shepherd and his sheep. I'd find a wolf for these guys. I'd go way the hell out of my way for them. I'd carry their young for miles on my own back. Science has confirmed that dogs love us back because they get the same rush of oxytocin when they look at us that we get when we look at them. them? Are you telling me that dogs are looking up to us and think, oh my god, what an adorable cutie pie? A while ago, I read an article about how dogs love us back, but they recognize that we're different from them, while cats see us as bigger and clumsier than them, but they don't consider us different. Dogs, I am fuzzy creature, and you're a different adorable creature, and I love you. Cats, I am lanky and graceful, and you're a giant mess. This is why cats occasionally try to bathe and feed us. Ash Ketchum, you lucky boy, you got to do everything awesome in the Pokemon world. It's not fair anymore. He never got to grow up or spend time with his family or have a family of his own. He has a 5th grade education at best. He's essentially homeless, and the only friend he's retained through all of his travels is a mouse. He's literally riding the god of the oceans like a bloody flying horse. Do you think he gives a rat's ass about his education? The biggest indicator that life isn't fair is remembering that all Japanese snow monkeys have to do is sit in hot springs and chill out. They don't have essays. They don't have politicians. They have class hierarchy though. Only the elite snow monkeys are allowed in the hot springs and the rest are forced to suffer the cold. They're born into their classes and they die in the same class. I was wrong. The biggest indicator that life isn't fair is that even bloody monkeys have class struggle. Why do people like a character who's committed war crimes but hate this other character just because they're annoying? Because it's fiction, Susan. And being annoying in fiction is a greater sin than being a supervillain because it won't make me want to read about them. It isn't difficult to understand. It's absurd to divide people into good and bad. People are either charming or tedious. Oscar Wilde. The war crimes are fictional, but my annoyance is real. This is your last warning. The next time you vandalize Wikipedia, you will be shot. We'll change your auxiliary verbs from is to was. I always felt like one of my superpowers was that I'm not easily marketed to, but it turns out it might be that I'm broke. For $1, we'll add 75 Bs. Are you sure? Starbucks barista. I've got a cafe mocha for Russian spy. Everybody remain seated and eyes each other suspiciously. Barista throwing his CIA badge at the floor in defeat. Damn it, I thought for sure that'd work. We should start doing ancient alien conspiracies, but for buildings that aren't even that old or impressive. No humans could make an apartment this complex. I spent all day long doing side quests instead of progressing the main story. I know you're talking about a video game, but this is actually a really good metaphor for my life. Y'all already know what's going on. I 100% do not. The more I look at this image, the more confused I become. My beauty tricks. Ah yes, the flawless Mike Wazowski look. Just what I wanted. It's unreal how all of my favorite characters have exactly the same traits and hobbies and diagnosis as me. Oh, have you been tricked into loving yourself? Oh my god, is that what just happened? I has a hat. Sobbing. You sure do, little buddy. Going on a mental health walk is not enough. I need to take my brain out of my head and drag it behind me on a little leash. According to a recent survey, replacing words with the name of musical instruments in a sentence often goes undetected. This made me so angry. I always wondered how mice made these holes. I'm Australian and I always thought that American houses just had those built into the walls so they could complain about vermin a few years down the track. I always looked for these in the houses I lived in as a kid. I was so confused as to why we didn't have any. It was upsetting. Needless to say, I watched endless amounts of Tom and Jerry. I suppose I just figured it was normal to have mouse holes. How the hell did they make that penguin from Wallace and Gromit look so evil? Like it's literally just a plasticine penguin, but it somehow radiates pure malice. Look at it. Cheese is just a loaf of milk. She's right and I'm scared. This implies a liquid form of bread. Beer. What's the difference between falling in love and having a crush? If they get a haircut and they're ugly, it's a crush. That's a weirdly valid point. Why do parents have a strange need to hold our phone when we show them some pictures? I showed this post to my mum and she grabbed my phone to read it and just stood there defeated. You don't know pain or agony until you've lost to the same boss fight more than 3 times, and then you have the unskippable cutscene dialogue memorized, so you start repeating it in a mocking, angry voice. Never let your printer know that you waited until the last minute to print something and you're in a hurry. They can sense fear. The moon is proud of you, and so are the stars, and so is the sun. The aliens are watching you, a little bit confused about your life choices, but they are proud of you too. Fun projects you can do at home. Convince all of your friends that a single piece of macaroni is called a macaronus. If you can't handle me at my worst, just remember that I handle me at my worst, and that makes me stronger than you. Oh my god, this makes me feel powerful. I hadn't even thought about it like this. There are 2 types of pet owners. 1, my baby, my cinnamon apple. 2, naughty boy, ugly stinky bastard man. Bold of you to assume this is not the same person. You could answer almost anything with not since the accident. Actually, you can't. Not since the accident.